Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today we're continuing series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and today I've got some fun news for you. We're taking a look at our favorite completely unfinished core, but still amazing, the Sharp X68000, and a group of people on the MiSTer side of things have created a brand new game pack that's going to make playing X68000 games on MiSTer FPGA the easiest it's ever been, because there's so many different asset files out there, so many different formats, including floppy disks, which will take forever to load. This is going to get you into games almost instantaneously, configure them exactly as they need to be configured, and just kind of remove that extra layer of complexity between you and playing some X68000, because this computer is absolutely amazing and has some of the best games of all time from the 16-bit era on it. You know you're going to want to play them. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. So I'm going to teach you guys how to get this set up, and then I'm going to go over some games and talk about the overall X68000 performance and some tips and tricks just to be able to get it running the way you want it to, so that you're going to have as much fun as possible, because trust me, you want to be playing Sharp X68000 on MiSTer, even if it's not complete. All of the games in this pack have been tested and will work absolutely perfectly fine. Let's get into how to set it up right now. Now this is predicated using Windows. If you're on Mac, you'll have to do something slightly different, but if you use 7-zip, which is what I recommend, there's two different ways to unzip the game files, and one of them is going to cause an extra step which you don't want. If you hit extract files, you're going to end up with a folder that has the name of the game. We want to kind of bypass that. If it happens, you can just go into that folder and kind of nest inside of it and grab the files there, but I don't recommend hitting extract files, because that's going to cause this folder to appear, and we really just want the underscore computer and the games folder to be able to drag and drop over to our MiSTer FPGA. So if you come back and you go to 7-zip and you hit extract here, that is going to remove that parent folder for the name of the game and just leave you underscore computers in games. This is what we're going to be moving over to the SD card, so just make sure you hit extract here. It's going to save you a step, and you'll see inside of the folder there's a bunch of other nested folders, including the genre, as well as all of the different files that are going to load the game up, configure it, and getting it running on your setup. And under games, you're going to see you're going to have the HDF or hard drive file, basically a virtual hard drive that's going to load the game as well, and that's just going to increase the speed of loading. You don't want to be on floppy disk, because we do have the ability to create hard drive images. So all you need to do is take the underscore computer and games folder, and if you do extract here, you'll get all of the different games you downloaded in one folder. Go ahead and copy those and then just paste them to the root of your MiSTer SD card. This will put all of the games and all of the files exactly where they need, and you'll get games that sound like this. This is an absolutely iconic soundtrack, and if you have the MT32 Pi hat, you're going to be able to get MIDI out of all of the games on the core that support it currently. Just remember, in that zip format, you just want to make sure you have the underscore computers folder and the games folder, or else every single game you download is going to cause an extra step, versus having one step, which is just dragging and dropping everything over. Or something like Cotton here, another game that just absolutely works flawlessly on the core. Now I do want you to remember that the X68000 core is not complete. It feels complete depending on what game you play, but some games just do not work whatsoever currently, so this pack has gone through and curated everything and tested it to make sure every single game in the pack works. So I totally understand the frustration if you're just playing around with X68000, you download a few games, you don't know if they're compatible or not, they don't work, and you just say screw it, I'm not going to play around with this anymore. That's what happens with cores that are unfinished. A lot of people just don't think they do anything, but when you actually explain it to them, they realize that they're missing out on hundreds of incredible games that work perfectly fine within the core. Now obviously, hopefully one day the X68000 core does get finished up, but in the meantime, there are hundreds upon hundreds of games that you can play and enjoy today with very little to no issue whatsoever. And it's time for the first soundtrack sample. Go ahead and listen to Cotton. I'll be right back. Looks great, sounds great, controls great, and just otherwise works exactly as you would expect. Now we're moving over to Geograph Seal, which is a 3D game on the Sharp X68000, because it did in fact have games that had polygons in them rendering off of the 68000 CPU, and it is a ton of fun, and it's basically the precursor to something like Jumping Flash on PlayStation 1, because it was made by the same developers. This kind of just shows the versatility of what the X68000 could do as a hardware platform, and just how impressive it could be. Definitely don't go in expecting anything like a 60 frames per second performance. Even on original hardware, you're not getting that whatsoever. It is maybe like 12 to 15 frames per second, but back when this game came out, that was absolutely mind-blowing, and it is still very impressive. And the entire point of this is I'm showing you games that work exactly as they should, both in 2D and in 3D. So if you're wondering to yourself, is this running like a Sharp X68000 PC would? It 100% is. It's a ton of fun, a very charming game, and definitely one I recommend you check out, because it kind of just shows what was going on in 3D in Japan before games like Star Fox would ever appear. And I just love this title. It is difficult, it is going to test you, but it's a ton of fun, and running it on MiSTer FPGA just works, and that's why it's great that this core does exist. Obviously, software emulation for the X68000 has existed for a long time, and I've done tutorial videos on that as well, but honestly, even I don't own an X68000. That's just because they are incredibly expensive and incredibly finicky. If you buy one that hasn't been serviced, you have to basically go and recap the entire board, change out the power supply, and odds are the floppy disk drives aren't going to be reading, so you need to go to a solid-state SCSI emulator to be able to load up games. So if you grab a computer for $1,500 that needs some work, plan on probably putting another $300 to $400 into it before you're actually playing any games and enjoying it and trusting that it is reliable, versus something like the MiSTer FPGA core, which might not be complete, but you certainly don't have to recap a core anytime soon. And as far as SCSI emulation is concerned, obviously we're loading up hard drive files into the core, so that's taken care of as well. And there's so many fun experiences on the X68000, including fan games. Chorensha 68K is one of the best bullet hell shmups you can play on any computer from the 90s. It is just absolutely a 100% massive hit, and it works perfect in the core. I played this game a ton. It's responsive, it's fast. If you end up dying and you get hit by a bullet, that's because you didn't read the screen correctly, not because there was any lag in the controls or anything else. And that just is a great testament of just how good MiSTer FPGA is, that you can do something like this game and just absolutely have no latency in the controls. And again, it's going to be a game in this pack. There's going to be so many fun things to discover, so if you see a game and you have no idea what it is, just add it to your MiSTer, give it a chance. Maybe you'll play it for 5 minutes and just move on with your day. Maybe you'll play it for 5 hours and find one of your favorite new games of all time. And if you want to see a best X68000 games to play on MiSTer FPGA video, leave me a comment down below, because I could probably fill that thing up with 20, 25, even 30 different games and still kind of drop off some of the perspectives from the list at the end. But we're going to do one more soundtrack sample, because Chorensha 68K, absolutely 10 out of 10 music that sounds incredible coming out of the core. Go ahead and listen for 35 seconds, and I'll be right back with more. Just some awesome music, and the best thing about the 68000, it's going to have a ton of fun arcade ports. Now granted, some of these games you're going to see on other cores on MiSTer FPGA, and they might even be better, but it's always fun to pop into a game that you remember and check out a new version of you've never played. Space Harrier here definitely has a nice look to it, even if it is maybe not quite the same as the arcade original. If you weren't aware, the 68000 was the development platform of choice for the Capcom CPS system, so you're going to get some very accurate ports of CPS games, and I understand Hotego has the entire CPS suite of cores on MiSTer as well, but it's always fun to see what else is going on, and it really makes me hope that we get a PC98 core that plays a ton of games and an FM Towns core that plays a ton of games in the future as well, because even if you're well versed in retro gaming, odds are there's at least one Japanese PC platform out there you've never spent any time with, and you don't really realize that there's a ton of fun games to discover. Obviously, the 68000 is the brass ring as far as that collection is concerned, but PC98 and FM Towns is no slouch either. And that's why it's great that people curate these packs, because trust me, they do it in their own spare time just to make sure you have fun, the same way that I do these tutorials in my spare time, just to make sure you're able to have that fun as well. And it's just one of those things. That's why I love MiSTer FPGA in general, not just because we're recreating original hardware in logic and preserving it as close to period accurate as that hardware could possibly be. You also just have a community of people that really just want to spend their spare time helping you have more fun with retro games and definitely discovering games you never played before. And that's why it's great that this pack is just basically curated into genre so that you can kind of decide, am I in the mood for a platformer today? Am I in the mood for a shmup? What is it that I want to play? Because there's so many different diverse genres on the X68000 and so many very unique individualized games. You're definitely going to find something that you enjoy. Something like Star Wars on the X68000 kind of feels like the Atari arcade game. You have full wireframe and it just has a specific vibe, kind of like a Vectrex on a little bit more horsepower. And that is the great thing again about packs like this. I'm not sure how many people knew there was a Star Wars game on the X68000. Leave me a comment down below and tell me if you knew or not, because pretty much everyone knows about Akumajo Dracula or Castlevania on the X68000, even Cotton. But some of these other games like Star Wars or Geograph Seal might be a little bit of a deeper cut. I'm going to do one more soundtrack sample, at least I think I am. It is Star Wars music after all, so hopefully it doesn't hit a flag. Either listen to the music or listen to 30 seconds of silence, and I'll be back to tell you just a little bit more detail. Maybe not the best soundtrack sample of the video, but it is interesting audio and it is fun to hear it coming out of the 68000 core. Now if you follow the beginning of the tutorial to a T, you'll be absolutely running this. Just make sure your MiSTer has been updated recently. That way I know you're not trying to do this on a 3 or 4 year old setup. But other than that, if you follow the directions, you're going to be playing all these games on the X68000. If you run into any issues, just leave me a comment down below and I will eventually answer you. Just remember, sometimes it takes me more than 5 or 10 minutes, and every once in a while people get upset if it takes me 6 hours to provide them free help. Remember, we're all here just kind of doing it for fun, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.